Hi, my name is Angelina. This is my presentation on labor, hierarchy, status, and gender and understanding the excavations at Amarna. Starting off, the excavation film of Amarna was shot in the 30s and produced during British-led archaeological excavations in Egypt. It was shot as a part of the EES and captures excavation processes at Akhetaten, or now known as Amarna. Um, in this presentation, I'll highlight field hierarchies in labor, specifically how Egyptian laborers in this film were tied into that, social status between the British archaeologists and the Egyptian laborers, and the role of gender and women in archaeology, and unfortunately, the absence of them in the documentation. Starting off, excavation was organized and funded by the EES and directed by Hilary Waddington alongside the main archaeologist John Pendlebury. A fun fact, before Pendlebury, Leonard Woolley and Hans Frankfurt directed the site as well. Film purpose and context. While the EES was funding the excavation, it was painfully obvious that they were stuck in a predicament of financial instability. It was a threat for them. As highlighted by Mary Chubb in Nefertiti Lived Here, lack of money was the bogey looming behind every small expedition of this kind. We had to rely on a few large donations from private sources, and for the rest, on anything else the society itself could squeeze out. Meaning that subscriptions to the film and to the site and their progress was essential for them, and that's why Pendlebury was so enthusiastic about making this film in the first place. Therefore, this film was a promotional tool designed to push the excavation to those who would fund it. Besides their lack of funding, the film was intended to record excavation methods. This is important considering photography and film were considered essential in excavation. I mean, it's the public's interpretation that the public interprets how what they see and what they understand of archaeology through it. But because of funding, the documentation, in order to be more entertaining, framed the day-to-day life on set on excavation, and particularly the way that Egyptian laborers had their day-to-day. In this film, you can see laborers working while Pendlebury is observing. Clothing and status. In colonial contexts, dress became a primary marker of social class, identity, and power. We can see here very different kinds of clothing and what they signal. Here, Egyptian laborers are distinguished by their long robes and their head coverings, and they're actively engaged in labor, while British archaeologists dressed in shirts and pants, considered Western clothing, just stand and watch, essentially, observe. The Umbaraks. Mary Chubb, an excavation member, the archaeologist, she describes the Umbarak family's son with striking features in her book. Despite this, them being a laborer family, she describes them in a way that really challenges how laborers are spoken of usually. And it's interesting to see because it's not something you typically get from archaeologists at this time. And in turn, we see that the personal connection is advanced and evidenced by Cassar's performance in excavations. Next, I'm gonna go to the overlooked role of women in the excavations. Throughout the film, we are exposed to many different individuals, but it is very rarely that we see women. Archaeologist Mary Chubb was one of these women who worked on this site, and she played a crucial role in Amarna, contributing beyond what the administrative tasks were assigned for her as an assistant secretary. She took on responsibilities like managing expeditions, um, accounts, coordinating supplies, logistical successes of the dig. And unlike many who were confined to clerical work, she was deeply involved in excavation. This difference goes beyond Amarna, and it reflects a broader pattern in excavations where women were working under men. These women played a crucial role in the physical labor of excavation, carefully uncovering and processing artifacts. Despite their contributions, female laborers and other hidden hands remained largely absent from official records. This is evident in historical excavation films, where primarily it highlights male archaeologists, reinforcing a skewed perception of women. Women archaeologists from the 19th and early 20th century have surprisingly often been invisible in the historical record, despite being well recognized in their chosen field. The Amarna excavation film is more than a historical record. It's a reflection of the colonial power that shaped the archaeology through labor, hierarchy, and gender roles. By looking at these themes, we can better understand how archaeology was historically and how it affects us today. Acknowledging this allows us to challenge outdated narratives and advance for a more equitable and inclusive approach. But as we move forward, how can we ensure that archaeology fully recognizes and values the diverse individuals who shape our understandings of the past? How have we changed? Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I will briefly skim through my bibliography. Thank you so much. Have a good night.